Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brews and Culture Podcast. I'm Gavin. This is Brandon. We're moving on to not so heavy heart things today. So something a little lighter, a little more fun. We'll do our beer introduction per the ritual. I'm on the Stella this evening.
I got Presidente, very famous Dominican beer. It's pretty good.
Beautiful. Never heard of it,
Yeah,
but Dominican, so it has to be good.
that's pretty good. So
Cool.
yeah, after the first sip, I'll take us in. Like Gavin said, I'm trying to bring this into a little bit of a more fun episode than last episode. It was I know it was a little gloomy, and I don't want that. We don't want that to be kind of like the tone of the podcast. It's kind of just we kind of want to just be kind of like a little slice of everything. So in this one, we figured we'd dive into maybe some more modern trendy conspiracies that are kind of floating around right now around the world. And so I had Gavin pick out a conspiracy without my knowing, and he's gonna drop it on me and bounce it off of me, and then I also have one as well, if we can get to it. If not, we'll hit it up next time. It's fine. So with that being said, so what do you got for me? I had asked you to find a conspiracy theory that you think would be worth bringing up, and we can talk about. So what do you got?
Yes, this is one that I have been really paying attention to since like Christmas Day. I think I saw this for the first time, and I haven't heard of this creator before, Nick Shirley, but he has a reputable page and a YouTube. I kind of dug through to make sure he wasn't just some asshole, but from everything I could see, and he fact checks himself and he has sources for everything he's talking about. So um, this isn't much of a conspiracy. It's kind of more literally a conspiracy, like a conspiracy to defraud the state government. But I thought it was worth talking about. So uh, this guy Nick Shirley, I from what I gather is a Minnesota native, and there are these childhood education early learning centers that are getting funding from the CCAT program, and there seems to be some sort of some discrepancies with these learning centers, and particularly what he's talking about is there's so many of them that are receiving millions of dollars in state funding, but there's no kids. There's no one here. There's no employees present. There's no children present. There's no evidence of children being there. And after we go over this clip, I'll show you exactly what he's talking about. But
Here
I'm
in
gonna
Minnesota,
roll this
massive
TikTok
fraud
he
is taking
posted,
place within the government
and he explains it a
and
little
the
better.
Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong, and they said leering. This
That alone, that alone is what really got me digging into this. Because he posted this clip on the 23rd. I think he posted it to TikTok the same day, which is where I saw it. And I was like, there's no way the Childhood Learning Center has a sign on the side door that says Quality Learning Center.
All right, so we got two problems already. We have no children in these daycare centers, and then the daycare centers already have very basic typos in them. When there's
Yeah,
smoke, there's fire.
that's exactly what I'm saying. And he's going to bring up a lot because it seems like a lot, or if all, maybe all the ones he's referencing are either owned or owned operated by Somalian immigrants, which I don't really care about too much. I think it's kind of irrelevant. I don't care if it was a white person, an Asian person, whoever running these daycare centers. That doesn't matter. The fraud here is really what's concerning to me. So this clip, he kind of talks about this center specifically, which is the one I'm super interested in because of that sign, which is hilarious. But this is the whole YouTube video he posted, which we'll have linked. Watch it on X so this guy gets paid because he's not going to get paid if you watch it on YouTube. So this is he's at a different
hello, we'd like to ask where the
um,
money's going.
a different one of these schools, and this lady slams the door in his face when he's asking like what the hell are you guys doing? So she just slams the door in his face, and I saw this today. So it's just like the craziest. whirlpool of horse shit. And the problem here is that I don't know how no one has noticed this before, because this is all public record. Like they're getting government funding, so obviously it's reported. So this school and this lady, I don't. I'm sure that she's also, or the school is also part of the problem. But in that other clip, this school, the Quality Learning Center, or Leering Center, is the one I find the most compelling. So I did a little bit of digging, and I pulled up flashbang. Sorry, I pulled up the Minnesota Department of Human Services license details for the school. So I couldn't find the name of owner operators or anything, um, anything that would identify who's running this operation, because it looks like it's licensed by an LLC. So I guess it doesn't have to be disclosed. But the capacity of this building is 99. So I assume that includes staff and students. And this one appears to be some sort of after school program. So this guy brings up in these videos that there's like nobody here ever. Like he keeps approaching them and there's nobody in these schools at any point. So it looks like this one, there's nobody there because it's an after school program. So there wouldn't be anybody there until, 3 to 5 p.m. So maybe that's what time this is, but I don't have any evidence to suggest that that's the case. But this school in particular has 95 plus violations reported by the Department of Human Services. So I was digging into a couple of them, and I couldn't find like a national average for. I would believe that probably every school has at least a couple violations.
Sure.
But these people have 95. And the oldest documented ones I can find are from 2022. So from 2022 to 2025, there are 95 of them. They also have a bunch of conditional license clauses, I assume, which means at some point the local government revoked their full licensing to be able to operate the school and put them on a conditional license to be able to operate. So there's a couple of these in here. I won't dig through this whole thing because it took me forever to actually dig through it, but there's a local news station that really went into more depth. I won't play this video because they'll obviously get upset about that. But you can see down in here that 95 violations between 2019 and 2023. And some of those violations were failure to keep hazardous items away from children and no records for 16 children within the facility. So, counter to what Nick Shirley was talking about in these videos, there obviously has to be children in these facilities, or at least this one, because they wouldn't have gotten a fine for not having records for 16 specific children if there weren't children at all, you know what I mean? But regardless of what he said about it, like this is still a huge issue. So I don't know what else really to say about it, and I would love your opinion here in just a second after I go over one more thing. So I'm sure you also, as a father, find this particularly gut wrenching. In this video, this guy, I can probably show frames, but I can't like play the video. So he's walking through to these schools, and this is the front of the center I was talking about earlier. So I didn't know how old this was. I mean, like it says when they posted it, which was January of this year. But I don't know when they filmed this.
For those who are just in an audio medium, it's a gentleman walking up to what is a proposed, after school program, and it's just like it looks like derelict. There's graffiti all over the front door. Like it doesn't look like a very welcoming.
Oh no, not at all. Speaking of not welcoming, I looked it up on maps because I was kind of concerned. It says they posted this article January 28, 2025, but I didn't know when they filmed this. They could have filmed this forever ago and not posted the story, so I wanted to go see how it looked on the outside now. So this is 2025. Sometime the Google car filmed this, and the outside of the building looks different than the video posted by Nick Shirley. but it's still rough. Like it looks a little better in that building, but this is still pretty bad. So
Right.
this board is still here for audio listeners. There's no graffiti on the board anymore, but there's still a board. There's a boarded up window, and the side of the building has tags on it, like graffiti tags from like I don't know if it's some gang affiliation. Or it literally could have just been street art, but regardless, I'm not dropping my kid off to some building that has slightly covered tags on the outside of the
Well,
building.
blown out window is red flag number one.
That's insanity.
Graffiti on the door is red flag number two, and then just clearly painted over, street art, graffiti, whatever is flag number three. It's definitely
Absolutely bonkers. Absolutely insane that this building is allowed to operate with children inside in this condition.
What's crazy is that image is from 2022, and then 3 years later, almost 4 years later, windows still busted out.
Yeah, they haven't done anything about the window, and they painted the side. So for audio listeners, the side of the building, the graffiti is now covered. They just painted the wall gray, but there's still a board on the door. Like there's like an industrial, like a business door with just like the pull handle instead of like a latch, and then a half painted board covering up what is likely a broken window. And in the ABC News article, in this video, this guy tries to go in, and can't get in. Obviously, they wouldn't have the door just unlocked for anybody. So he finally, after the 6th attempt to go find someone to talk to about this school or to get access to the school, he finally finds somebody. And this person claims to be or is either the owner or a teacher or a staff or somebody that works at this facility. And they say that the anchor asks, so there's 80 kids inside this facility, and the person says, no, not now. It's an after-school program. That makes sense to me. But aside from that, if this guy went there 6 times, he surely didn't go at the same time every day. So let's say makes sense to me that it's an after-school program. That doesn't seem suspicious to me. Does the staff get there 5 minutes before the children do? Why is there nobody here? Of the 6 times he went, there was one person, one staff member there. And they're not.
And surely after he learned that it was an after-school program, he went during hours.
Sure, yeah, had to
after school.
And
he's a seasoned, news guy.
Finally, there's somebody there, and they're pulling into the parking lot. They're not even in the building; they're still outside. So in this clip that they posted, this wall's gray again. And what I can see online, the pictures are from 2022. So this guy this had to have happened sometime after 2022, and the sign from the Nick Shirley video is not here.
Right, the leaning video, the leaning.
Yeah, the leering sign is still not here. So the update that they've made since this was filmed earlier this year, and since this was posted by Nick Shirley late this year, December 23rd, the only updates that have been made is a misspelled sign on the side door. There's still no staff. There's still no kids. The parking lot is still gravel. This is bonkers to me. And this really boils down to, there is no oversight with what's going on here. From my experience in Florida, this would never fly. Being a Florida man, there's some shenaniganry that goes on with public instruction or private education. But there would never be any funding for this. This would never, nobody, the government would not give a dime to these people. Much less to the tune of $11 million since 2019. So when he's going through, this is a different center with the exact same issues. He walks down this hallway, and to enter this other facility, you just walk down the sketch-ass hallway, and there's a airbrushed sign on a wall, and he's still trying to get access into a different facility. And I believe he went to this one 4 times, and there's still nobody there. There's also no cameras on the outside of this main entrance.
That's wild. This is like you know, textbook what do they call it? Like a front.
Yeah, no.
Like a front or like a shell business.
My obvious assumption is it's conspiracy to, or not really necessarily conspiracy because they're actively doing it. They're just defrauding the government. They're just taking money from the government to run daycare centers and not running daycare centers. So this news anchor reaches out to the Department of Human Resources and is like, hey, from what I can tell, these schools aren't doing a fucking thing. There's no children, there's no staff, there's no cameras, there's dilapidated buildings. Why are we giving their money? The Department of Human Resources declined to comment on what he was talking about, but he did say the only way, or excuse me, they said the only way that they're able to stop funding for these businesses, or excuse me, these schools, is if they have a paper trail showing a lie, showing that they reported something false. So for audio users, this is a quote from the Department of Human Services. When a provider intentionally gives false information on its CCAP billing forms or submits false attendance records. So that seems reasonable until you give it half a second of thought. How on earth would they know that the attendance records are false?
Well, sure, that could be completely, you know, there's no official proof on that.
Well, and even if like they sent somebody to check, which I would think would be the logical next step, there's nobody there. So how on earth could they possibly claim that this is a reasonable a set of steps to validate these things? And I'm sure that this isn't a Minnesota problem. It's just Minnesota that's getting called out for it right now. Doesn't help that Tim Walz is the governor, but not necessarily a political issue. This is an issue with keeping children safe. So to continue that claim, or to continue that quote from the Department of Human Services, the only other way that they would be able to do so, to be able to cut off money to these organizations, is if they're operating on a suspended or revoked license. There's a whole other issue here. This place that we're talking about earlier is on a conditional license. So what does it take to have your license removed to operate a day program, to quote the fine print? Because they have issues such as what we discussed earlier, failure to keep hazardous items away from children and not keeping records for 16 children.
Right.
So in what way can the government claim that they're keeping track of any of this? Like,
right.
It's bonkers to me.
Let's back up a little bit, because obviously, I mean, obviously there's some fraud going on here, but on paper it's going to be hard to prove this, because let's back up before I even approach that. How many has this Nick Shirley video gotten a lot of traction? Like, is it going viral?
Yeah,
I'm sure it has if it caught your wind.
4.4 million views on Twitter.
4.4 million views is no slouch of a video. Okay. All right. So Nick Shirley, this assumed Minnesotan journalist, is exposing what is clearly fraud, but what I don't think he can clearly pinpoint something that would deem it fraudulent in the eyes of the court, right? Because even him going to these places with video and saying, hey, where are the children? They're saying the children are not here right now. There's not much you could do about that, right? I mean, like, it's clearly wrong. It's clearly wrong, but who are you to deem their schedule, right? But obviously, on paper, or not on paper rather, there's some fishiness going on here. So what you have here is not so much shadow government conspiracy, but you have bureaucratic rot is what you have. It's clear. So you have a system that's so large, paper driven, and the biggest problem, it's under audited. Like so many of these municipalities and state governments, and I have to assume on a federal level, there's not enough auditing happening to keep them honest. Right. So a lot of this stuff is kind of easy to hide in plain sight. That's kind of like the unsettling part. So the video, it forces public attention, which is good, because a lot of this stuff must, like you said, it's not just a Minnesota problem. This stuff happens on the daily, and it happens with all sorts of programs. And you know, I think the public knows this to a degree, but it's never made official, so no one gets their head wrapped up around it. You know what I mean? Like, so no one's making a big fuss about it. If this blows up to a case where it can be proven in the court of law that this is obviously misappropriated funds, because what I think, and I could be wrong, obviously, what I think is happening is that this money's being routed somewhere under the guise of funding for childcare. I think it's being funded. I think that money's flowing to some other offsite operation, organization, individual, something under the guise of childcare. So like clearly these places, based on just the two videos you showed me, kind of just seem like fronts. There's no children there. There's no employees there. The thing says Child Learning Center, but not a single child has been seen. At least in the reporter and Nick Shirley's attempts. Right. Obviously, I'm gonna assume at some point these places have made their bare minimum to be considered in the legal view a childcare location, because they had, again, get these permits. But obviously these permits and these reviews, these conditional license reviews, are being slow rolled on purpose, because I think that money is just being funneled God knows where. That's the scary part. God knows where. Under the assumption that it's supposed to be routed towards the funding of these buildings. Look at these buildings. They look like rundown pieces of garbage. They don't look like they're certainly getting $11 million a year.
What? I'm gonna pull up another frame from this report from ABC. When he peers into the front of the daycare center that we're mainly talking about here, the Quality Learning Center. This is the front door. So that boarded up, for audio listeners, next to that piece of fiberboard that we were talking about. The door that is actually glass, when he peers into that glass door, there is some shelves with nothing on them, a single blue chair, and then some empty boxes in the middle of the floor.
I mean,
looks like a soul hasn't been here. The only redeeming quality is it looks like it's relatively clean. So other than the fucking trash everywhere, like as far as like the shelves and the floor they look like they've been cleaned. So somebody's in there, but it's obviously not kids. Like there's obviously no one there. If any parent worth anything walks into this facility and sees this room, they're not leaving their fucking kids there.
Right. And this is the problem with this whole case, right? Because like if you're looking at this, clearly something's off here, right? This is supposed to be an established daycare or after school program that is under this program that's getting this funding, and it's a complete desolate space. But, empty building, does not equal proof of fraud, which is, I mean, I know it's annoying for me to even say that. I'm not defending I'm just trying to point out the frustration of, even though this is clearly BS, it's so hard to like, put a pin in it and say, hey, we got you, because in the court of law, I don't think that's going to be like good enough, because, think about how many things they could say to kind of circumvent this accusation, they could say, hey, funding often flows through other umbrella organizations that are not directly related to the physical locations that are being shown in these videos. That Nick Shirley or whatever news organization this is brought up, or this place looks empty to this place looks empty to this place still millions is not legally sound without, hopefully, with more documentation. But hopefully Nick Shirley can uncover some documentation, because this is clearly fraudulent. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you there. It's just that it's so sad to see, like, and in this case does seem relatively new, so I'm not saying it's not gonna get to this point, but it's just sad to see someone get 90% of the way there, and then like that last 10%, just because they can't go through the bureaucratic hurdle of putting a pin in it. It's frustrating, because you want to see kind of people's heads on pikes from when stuff like this happens, because that's millions of dollars of taxpayers' monies clearly being misappropriated. So it's extremely frustrating. So I give Nick Shirley an A++ for bringing this to light. I think the public attention will then, like 4.4 million, like I said, is no slouch. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's national level now.
There's major, obviously major conservative creators commenting here. Like the only way I really even saw this other than the TikTok was Elon Musk commented on this post, but I don't know who this guy is. Yeah. Like I don't know who this guy is. I see his face all the time. Don't know anything about him. Not endorsing him as a good source, but like this is a valid take. I think Libs of TikTok commented on this post, or maybe a different one. Probably this post over here. For this when he posted that whole video, which again we'll have linked somewhere. Please watch it on Twitter so this guy gets paid. But
sure.
In Wokeness, Libs of TikTok, these are all huge right-wing accounts that are just bringing even more light to this, because this insanity. And once again, one thing I really want to drill here is like everyone this guy shows in this video is like obviously not not on any American customs. Like this lady is in a I mean, like I would. It's not.
She's
a
not a Minnesotan.
Yeah, she's not. She's obviously not a Minnesota native. Like even if she was born in Minnesota, she has very recent, like immigrant parents, immigrant grandparents. Obviously, this young lady who's probably just staff at this facility. Like I don't want to fault any people working to get their dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
This lady's probably just going to work every day. But the people who are running this operation are obviously the problem. But what that all boils down to, the fact that most of these people are Somali should be of little concern, other than the conspiracy part of what we're here to talk about today. I will ignore race every opportunity given. However, this is not one of those opportunities. It is very odd that everyone in this video is Somalian. Or Nick Shirley is saying that they are.
Right.
So obviously you can't just ask him, well, where are your fucking papers, lady? And he would be an asshole if he did.
And it's also just, it's like the timing is perfect based on all the Somalian news we've been hearing out of Minnesota,
right.
With all the immigrants. It's just like perfect timing. It's just like, it's too good to be true. Again, like, I mean, this term has carried a lot of weight because it's usually true 9 times out of 10. When there's smoke, there's fire, man. I mean, it is what it is.
I want your take here. Let's assume, for the love of the game, that there's some crazy backdoor ass conspiracy going on here. What do you think that is?
Okay, so it's tough to place. If I do take into the account, if I'm a believer that the Somali immigrants are primarily involved, at least at a staffing level, I think okay. If I had to go full conspiracy, like tinfoil hat mode, I would say state level funding is being misappropriated to someone or some organization's pocket under the guise of childcare, and I believe these Somali immigrants are easy scapegoats to put at the bottom of the totem pole to take the heat. That would be my.
So glad you said that.
first hack at it, but with the little knowledge that you've given me, that would be my first hack at it.
The first thing that came to mind for me, because obviously Nick
Scapegoats.
Shirley is really digging into this. Why are they all Somali? I don't particularly give a shit, but since we're talking about it, my immediate thought is there's some conglomerate registered that probably owns all these LLCs.
It's probably real estate if we're going that way.
Yeah, it very well could be. And some organization is employing Somalians or Somalian immigrants for a reason. So now we have a bridge to cross. And one side of that bridge is where the right seems to be about this issue specifically, which is the fucking Somalians are taking over the White House or the Minnesota Department of Human Resources.
Sure.
So that seems crazy to me. That seems like a weird place for them to start, if that was the case.
I think that's a little right field.
That seems outlandish to me. Seems like outlandish, and that like this. There, like neither of these two accounts, Lives of TikTok or In Wokeness, I find particularly compelling on most issues.
Sure.
But I'm going to assume their take here for a minute, which is there's something going on with these Somalians, which there's a lot of evidence to suggest. I don't think that this is a good hill for them to die on with regard to the issue that they're talking about.
Right.
So on this conservative side of the bridge, it's, the Somalians are the issue here. And on the other side of that bridge, the more reasonable one to me is there's something going on with some sort of conglomerate that is hiring ill-informed minority scapegoats.
I think that's 100% what it is. Just because, especially because of the heat they've been getting recently, it's the easiest low-hanging fruit target you could put. That'd be akin to, El Paso, Texas, having some problems with Mexicans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's too good. The timing is too good. I don't believe all immigrants are bad. I think, I think, as you said, I mean, because you could see this in that video, and then the video you showed me, where it stated that the employees appear to be a Somalian. Obviously, we can't say they're Somalian definitively, but they appear to be Somalian via Nick Shirley and whatever news outlet that was. I think they're there for their heads to roll, basically. And they probably promised these poor people employment. Hey, go watch over this building, and say that you're a daycare operator,
which is a whole other problem, because this
right.
This young lady in this video, underneath the timestamps here, she says no comment, sorry. So
they could be trained, they could be coached. I mean,
so someone
like
probably I'm assuming that this lady is just staff here.
Sure,
but somebody told this lady, hey, if somebody comes knocking on the door asking what the fuck's going on here, you say nothing. Which is now we're into a whole now this is like for sure fraud of some kind. Whether it's fraud of all of these payments from the Department of Human Services could be totally legit. Like maybe these people are running legitimate operations and it just looks really bad. It's possible. It doesn't seem likely, but it could be legit. But let's assume that it is for a second. This is weird. That this guy was like, hey, what's going on here? And she's like, no comment. And the only redeeming aspect of this that I can see is if I worked at a daycare with children and somebody came knocking on the door with a camera and a microphone and was like, hey, what's going on in here? I would probably be like, you need to get the fuck on, bro.
Right.
No, sure. It's weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing's really weird. I don't have any for sure, which I think is the great thing about a conspiracy. I don't have a for sure take on this. But
I'm kind of glad we
going
arrived
on
at the same crossroads on what it could be. You know, we could obviously be totally off, but clearly there's fraudulence going on. Yeah, we likely are. Clearly there's fraudulence going on, and then, you know, the good thing about this whole thing that Nick Shirley's bringing up is it's getting massive attention, so that's going to put political pressure on. So one way or the other, someone's going to get screwed.
That TikTok that he has reposted to his Twitter has 4 million views. The whole YouTube, which is also on YouTube, once again, watch it on Twitter so this guy gets paid. But this whole long form content that he's posted from YouTube, 42-minute video, 65 million views.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that whole thing later on. That's insane.
I've watched. I haven't watched the whole thing. I haven't had time to. It came out yesterday, so I skipped through so I didn't sound like a total asshole when we were talking about this, and I didn't want to say anything false about what Nick Shirley was saying.
Sure,
but this like we said a million times at this point. I really want to drill in. We have no idea what's going on here. Nobody has for sure any idea what's going on here. But there is, if not some sort of money laundering operation or some financial crime, there's still something super weird going on.
I agree. And it's I mean, $110 million is not a figure to ignore, even in today's inflated rate. $110 million is
that's
grossly...
just what he discovered. Also, this is just what he's familiar with is $110 million. I believe somewhere in this video, it's to the tune of $1 billion plus, as reported by ABC News.
And this is just one city, or one state rather.
Quick fact check. I want to make sure. I believe I saw something about $1 billion. It might have been in these clips somewhere. If I'm wrong, as we added, one thing to mention real quick, when I was putting together the last episode, mashing everything up, on the right, if you're listening on Spotify, our page appears while you're listening to this episode. The description for each video will be there, or each episode rather. If any of us, either of us rather, say anything definitive about something, I will fact check it while editing, and if it's incorrect, I will put the correction in the description. So I said 2 things incorrect on the last episode. You can see them on the right that I corrected them. So I will figure that out and confirm it before I say for sure. I believe somewhere in here, somewhere in this ABC News video, it was something about $1 billion in funding for these daycare centers. And I assume that's likely an all-encompassing, because obviously there's totally legitimate daycare operations in Minnesota. Like, it's a huge state.
Of course.
So I think that's just I'll have to find it, but super odd, very, very odd.
Definitely. You pulled up a banger for the first one. I mean, like it's relevant. It's now, and it's scary, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of scary things going on, but it's so close to home. Not literally my home, but like it's just like, just to think the amount of municipal fraud or statewide fraud that's obviously, even though the federal is very fraudulent, we know this.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, it's going to trickle down to the lower echelons of governing bodies, but it's just like, that is an absurd amount of money, you know. And then you know, like the city will they'll make sure they'll get you for your state taxes, like, you know, on the dime. So it's just like stuff like this that happens. It's gross.
It's like one of my favorite things about the IRS is that, like, when it's time to pay Uncle Sam, that, like, paying taxes boils down to, hey, you owe us money, and you're like, how much? And they're like, I'm not gonna fucking tell you.
You tell us. Yeah.
But if you're wrong,
you tell us.
You're fucked up, buddy.
You're going to jail, brother.